Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's your favorite girl Favor here. So guys, on today's tutorial I am going to be sharing with you guys how to draft this particular milkmaid dress. Now this particular design of this milkmaid dress came on request, so I'm going to be sharing with us how to draft it, the easiest way to go about this, and it's beginner friendly. So if this sounds like something that you're interested in, you want to stick around with me, watch this video from beginning to the end so that you will understand and get every bit of details that comes with it. So if this sounds like something that you would want to learn or something that interests you, without wasting much of your time, let's just head to the tutorial proper. So guys, for today's tutorial, this tutorial is going to be divided into two. So for this first one, we are going to be drafting on our pattern, and this video really came on request. And for the fabric we're going to be making use of, this flowered crepe. Now it's stretchy, okay, and I have this to be 2 yards. Now 2 yards can work for my body size. I'm a size 10, so if you're on a plus size or if you're on a bigger side, I would request you get like 2.5 yards or 3 yards, depending if your fabric is stretchy. So we're going to be drafting it first. So all I'm going to do is I'll keep this fabric aside now so that we'll go ahead and draft on our pattern paper. So guys, if you've been following the tutorial, you will know before we start taking our basic body measurements, we'll always come down here by 1/2 inch, which is where we're going to be taking our measurement from. Now that is going to be serving as our shoulder. Now from this point here, I will come down by 10 inches. Okay, so I will mark down here 10 inches, which is going to be my breast point. See, from our shoulder here, I will just go ahead and correspond it to this other side so that when I'm marking out the line, is going to be straight. Now I will mark my underbust, which is 13 inches. I'll mark it down here, and then I'll mark my waist measurement, which is 16 inches. I will mark down here. Now after marking it, we'll go ahead and connect the lines straight up. Okay, so I'll go ahead and use my ruler to just connect these lines that we already marked like this. Now so after marking it, I'll label the points where we have our shoulder, breast point, underbust, and our waistline. Now to get our hip measurement, from my waist measurement here, I will come down by 8 inches, which is my hip point. I will mark it here. So remember that the highest point you get for your hip is 9, and how to get your hip measurement is from your waist. You mark where you use your tape to place on the sharp edge where your hip started from. That is how to get your hip, the easiest way to get your hip. Now the length of the gown we are working with today is going to be 55 inches, but because this pattern paper is not enough, I am going to be adding that to the fabric when we mark. So I'll just make use of this length here, which is now going to be serving as our full length for now. Then I'll also go ahead and connect these lines like so. After connecting it, the next thing we're going to do is to label it our hip line, and then the down here is going to be our full length. Now after getting it, we'll go ahead and get our shoulder divided by 2, which will give us 8. I will mark it down here. Now the neck wideness we're going to be making use of today is 3 inches, and then the neck depth we're going to be working with is 3 inches, 3 by 3. So please mind you, I am not going to be making use of this yoke. I'm just marking it for the sake of anyone who does not know how to get this basic body. So I really want you to understand it. So I'll go ahead and use my armhole curve here and connect my neck depth like this, my round neck like this. Now after marking our round neck, the next thing we're going to do is to mark down to still verify our 8 inches. Then from here I will come down by 1 inch, which is going to be serving as our shoulder slope. Then from that 1 inch I will connect it to the neck like this. Now after connecting this neck, the next thing we're going to do is to get our round armhole circumference. Now to get your armhole depth, you divide your round bust by 6 plus 1.5 inch allowance. Whatever yours gives you, you mark. Mine gave me 7.5. I will mark it down here and then connect it like so. Now after connecting it, I will go ahead and just to see verify to make sure that I have 8 inches at this point. I will mark it here. Now the next thing we're going to do is to go ahead and connect it to meet that our shoulder slope that we marked before. So from this point, I will mark it to meet this point here. Now this is going to be serving as our chest line. So what I'm going to do right now is to go ahead and label this our chest line. Now after labeling our chest line, the next thing we are going to do right now is to get our armhole curve. Now to get our armhole curve, from this point I will go ahead and divide the hair by 2. Now whatever I get, I will go ahead and mark it down here. So I usually do this on a regular basis on this channel, so you should get used to this by now. And if for a better understanding, you can check out the basic body measurements on the channel so that you understand, but just follow this tutorial, you're going to get it. Now from this point, I will mark my round bust divided by 4 this time around. Then from that ½ inch that came out, the division of that armhole that we divided into 2, I will go ahead and just use my armhole curve and connect it to that point. Then from that ½ inch we came in, I'll just connect it straight like this now to the shoulder slope. So this is all for our round armhole circumference. Now the next thing we're going to do right now is to get our dart intake. Like I said before, I am not going to be making use of this yoke. I'm just using it for a better understanding of how to get a basic dress form on how to get your skirt, your gown. So this is how you get a basic dress form. Okay, at this point, the next thing we are going to do is to go ahead and get our dart intake. Now my bust span divided by 2 will give us 4. I will mark it on my under bust and then mark it on my waistline and then also mark it on my breast point like this. All right, so after marking it on my breast point and on the chest line, I will still come down to the hip point here. I will mark the 4 inch. Now my bust span also refers to your nipple to nipple measurement. So after marking it, the next thing we're going to do right now is to connect the lines just the way I'm connecting it, just a straight line like this. Okay, so after connecting it, now the next thing we're going to do is to go ahead and get our dart intake. Now from this our waistline, I will come in by ½ inch and then come out here by ½ inch. Now from this our waistline here, I will come down by 4 inches. I will mark the 4 inches down here. So after marking the 4 inches, we'll go ahead now and connect our dart leg. Okay, so this is just the basic dress pattern that we're trying to get. So I'll go ahead and connect the dart to this point, that 4 inches, and then from that waistline I'll also go ahead and connect the dart. So just pay attention to what I'm doing. This is really easy, just the way we get our normal dart intake. That is what I'm doing here. Okay, so I'll go ahead now and connect the other one to this point. Okay, so after connecting it to this extent, I will also connect this other side. Now after connecting it like this, I will go ahead and mark this out. So this is our dart intake, so this one is going out. Now from here, we'll go ahead now and get our basic body measurement. So guys, we're going to go ahead now and place our round bust measurement, which is 9 inches. I will mark it down here. Now whatever I have on my breast points is what I'm going to be using for my under bust as well, because this is going to be a kind of gathered. Okay, so my round bust measurement is also what I'm going to be using on my under bust measurement. Now and this our waistline, I will go ahead and mark my waistline measurement, which is 7.5. I will mark it down here. I will check our dart intake, which is 1 inch. I will replace it down here. Now I will go ahead and connect these lines like so. Okay, so you want to pay attention that I have not added any allowance to this pattern because we're going to be adding the allowances on our fabric. Now we'll go ahead and get our hip measurement. Now my hip measurement is going to be 9.5 inches. I will mark the 9.5 inches at this point. All right, now to get our full length here, I will minus 1 inch from my 9.5. so when I minus 1 inch, we'll be left with 8.5 inches. So I will mark the 8.5. so after marking it, I will go ahead and use my curve rule and curve it out. So I'll use my curve rule here and mark out our hip measurement like this. So you can use your free hand to do this as well. So I'll go ahead and connect it to the full length. So please remember that this is not the full length we're working with. I will add the remaining length on our fabric. So guys, you can see this is what you should be getting at this point. See, this is a basic gown pattern that we've just drafted. This is a basic dress pattern. Can you see what it looks like? Now we'll go ahead and just cut this out. So we'll come to this our waistline here. I'm going to be dividing this our waistline into two. Now I'm dividing this our waistline into two because this milkmaid we are working with is going to be starting from the under bust. Okay, but just pay attention at this point. I'm just going to cut all through. After cutting it out, I will label this our front skirt pattern and I will keep it aside. Now we are going to go ahead and work on the upper part of our dress. Now from this our chest point, from this our shoulder point here, I will come down by 6 inches. From this point here, I will mark 6 inches. Now this is how high I want my off shoulder to be. So you can bring yours to be 7 inches, you can make it to be 8 inches, but I want it to start at 6 inches. That is what I marked there. So the next thing we are going to do right now is to come to this our under bust. Remember, the milkmaid we are drafting is a straight milkmaid. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and use my marker to just mark a straight line from this our under bust measurement like this. Now guys, if you don't want your own to have joining at the waistline as well, all you just need to do is to just divide your basic dress pattern from your under bust measurement. I hope you understand. So I'll go ahead from that 6 inch that we came down from. I'll just label it off shoulder so that we'll know what we're doing, and then I will still cut it out. So I'll just go ahead and cut it through like so. So you can see now we have our off shoulder. So this is what the off shoulder looks like. All right, now after marking our off shoulder, I will still come down here and then place it together like this. So I will still gum it together. I will use my sellotape and hold it together. Now the essence of holding this together is to also get our back pattern for the skirt. So I will place it on a fresh pattern paper. Now before placing it on the fresh pattern paper, I will come in by 2 inches, which is going to be 7 as our zipper allowance. So after connecting it, I will go ahead and connect the dotted lines and then pin it down like this. So guys, after pinning it down, now I will just go ahead and trace it out, use just the same way we have for our front pattern. Okay, I hope we are understanding at this point. Please leave a comment on the comment section, ask any question. I will be there to attend to any question that we have. So what we're going to do right now is to get our zip allowance. So I'm going to be doing a butt contouring on this skirt, on this gown we are cutting. So from this our shoulder point here, I will come in by 1.5 inches. I will mark the 1.5 inches here. At this our under bust, I will mark 1 inches, and then our waistline I will also mark 1 inches. Now at our hip line, I will mark 2 inches, which is going to be our butt contouring. Then I will go ahead and mark. Please remember, at the upper part here, I marked 1.5. At the under bust, I mark 1 inch. Waistline, I marked 1 inch. Now the essence of that is to eliminate any zip bulginess at the back. That is the essence of why we marked. And then the hip that I marked 2 inches is for our hip contouring. Now the essence of hip contouring is that it helps our hip to sit properly on our skirt at the back. Now from our hip line, I will come down by 5 inches. So this is where our open slit is going to be from. So at that point that I marked 5 inches, I came out by 1 inch, and then I will just give it a nice curve. So this is what your gown, the back pattern should be. And mind you, I'm using this front pattern to mark the back pattern because I don't want my back pattern to have joining. I'm not joining my back pattern. My back pattern is going to be straight up. So there's not going to be any waist front or dividing at the back. It's going to be a very long skirt from the beginning to the end. I hope you understand. So I'll go ahead and label this our zipper allowance. So after labeling it our zipper allowance, we will go ahead and cut it out. So at this point, this is what you are supposed to be getting, okay? So guys, after cutting it now, we'll go ahead and separate it and label this our back pattern. Now I will keep our back pattern aside. So this is what you should be having on your back pattern. You can see our hip contouring at that point. So this is what the front and back looks like. Okay, now this can also serve as an off-shoulder shirt for you, an off-shoulder gown pattern for you, in case if you don't want to do the slash and spread method. Now the next thing we're going to go ahead to do is that I want to work on my back pattern. The neckline, I wouldn't want it to be straight, so I came down by 1 inch, and then I'll just give it a curve like this. Now this is totally optional. If you don't want to achieve this, you can leave it like this, but this is how I want the back pattern to be. So for my back neck, I'll go ahead and just trace it out like this. Okay, so after tracing it out like this is what my back is going to look like. Okay, so I will go ahead and keep this aside. Now we're going to go ahead and work on our back pattern, on our front pattern. I will go ahead and separate the solo tape that we used to mark it down. All right, so I will keep that. I kept that other one aside. Now our underbust, if you notice that our milkmaid bustier, the effect is started from the underbust, so I will slash through our underbust. Now this is our waistline, so this is where our waist is going to be. I will keep it aside. Now the next thing we are going to be doing right now is called the slash and spread method. So I will, from this point here, I will go ahead and mark 1 inch at this point. After marking the 1 inch here, I will rule it out. After ruling it out like this, I will also go ahead and mark 1 inch. In essence, the slash and spread method, the distance we're going to be giving on the paper is going to be 1 inch throughout. So I will do this to this point. After marking it, when I get to this armhole point here, I'm not going to be dividing the armhole because I want it to be together, the armhole to be together. So just pay attention. You can see that I didn't mark out I didn't divide the armhole. So I labeled it, and I have this to be 8 pieces. So I'll go ahead and slash through all of these pieces. Now what we're doing here is to get our gathered effects on our bustier, our milkmaid bustier. That's our milkmaid gathers that we have at the bust area. That is what we're doing here. Now I will bring out another fresh pattern paper, okay, and place it on our table like this. Now I will just come here and mark a straight line. Now this straight line is going to be serving as guidance of how to place our pieces that we already slashed. So at this point, I will pick one of the pieces here, the number 1. Remember, we labeled it. So I'll pick the number 1 and then pin it at this point. So when I pin it at this point, please, you want to make sure that you're going to pin this in a way you will be able to, you're meant to pin this on a straight line. That is, simply put, you're meant to pin it on the straight line. Now the distance I'm going to be giving on this our spreading we're going to be doing now is going to be 1.5 inches. Remember, we slashed by 1 inch. Then the spreading we're going to be doing on this fresh pattern paper is going to be 1.5. So when I mark my 1.5, I will place the number 2 slash that we did. I will place it here and then I will pin. So I will continue the same process till I get to the end of the pieces. So this is the number 3. All right, so guys, this is what it looks like. Now the next thing we're going to do is to just go ahead and trace all these pieces. That is why I said when you're slashing, you should make sure that you place it on a straight pattern. Now this is that armhole, so I'll go ahead and cut through. Now this is not going to be for our bustier area, so this is what we're going to be doing our gather effect. So this is what you should have, and then this is our waistline. Okay, so this is our waist line, and then this is our gown length, this is our skirt length. So this is what you're supposed to be having. So by the time we do the gather effect, this is what we should have. So this is all for the first pattern of this one. So on our next tutorial, we are going to use all these pieces to cut on our fabric, and then we are going to sew. So thank you so much for watching. See you guys on our next tutorial. Please do not forget to like, and please do not forget to go green.